Hey, how's everybody doing? It's been a very long time since I have been on camera, such as the way we are right now. And there is a reason for that, because I didn't really have a need to. But something happened a couple of weeks ago, and I was so amazed that I said, I got to get back to this stuff. And let me tell you what happened. I was at the FHCA convention. FHCA convention, it's a national convention out in Florida. I'm walking around there talking to people that I know, meeting some people that I never met before, and someone came over to me and said, hey, you're the person from the video. And I said, what video? Not sure what you're referring to. She said, you know, the video with the QITs, the Miller Trust. And I could not believe it. I put this video out. I mean, if you look on the YouTube channel here, the last video was from November 2014. That was a long time ago. I put that video out, I don't know, we got a couple of hundred views, but I didn't realize that this actually has the effect that it has, that anybody at any point could go watch it and educate themselves on something or learn something or get information. And that is something I was so impressed with, and I was amazed at, like, this is actually hitting other people that are actually enjoying it and learning from it. So I said, you know what? We gotta do more of these. So here I am. What I'd like to do is simply this. There's a lot going on in healthcare. There always is a lot going on in healthcare. And there's always something else that people are talking about, something that's in the news. And what I wanna do is just try to capture a little bit of what's going on in the news, a little bit what's on people's mind, discuss it, bring to light certain things that you may not be aware of, and inform you of what's going on. That's really the intention here. I hope it's helpful for you. I hope it's informative. So here we go. I want to start with something that a lot of people have been calling me about, a lot of people have been asking about, a lot of people have been very nervous about, and that is Pennsylvania is starting something called MLTSS for skilled nursing facilities. MLTSS stands for Managed Long-Term Services and Supports. What is it? It's basically Managed Medicaid, which is when an insurance company steps in to manage the Medicaid members instead of the Medicaid department themselves. This is something that has been going on for many years in many other states, starting with Arizona years ago, but we have it in tri-state area, New York, New Jersey already. Pennsylvania is just getting hit now in 2018. People are panicking. What do we do? How are we supposed to deal with this? What are the rules? Are people going to be taken care of the same way? What is the coverage going to be like? Calm down. That's what I just want to tell everybody. If this is new to you, calm down. Yes, it was a learning curve to figure out exactly how things are going to be arranged and how everything's going to work. But once you sit through a session to learn how it's going to work, and once you get over the humps of the insurance companies that don't really have their act together right away, eventually it starts working out. And eventually that becomes the norm. Will your cash flow possibly slow down? Probably. This is something that we're dealing with already in many of the states. And my message to you, Pennsylvania people, is you'll be okay. I'm reassuring you, you will be just fine. Okay, out of Pennsylvania, I want to tell you about something else which I didn't even know about. I didn't even care about when I read it initially. Then I realized the ramifications and I started realizing that this could actually play a role in something that we should hear about. Penn Treaty American Corporation. What? Yes, Penn Treaty American Corporation. What is that and why do I care? They are the backer of a lot of the insurance policies that are created for people that have long-term care policies. A long-term care policy is basically somebody that buys a policy that is going to cover them for the extent of their life, so to speak. But either way, Penn Treaty American Corporation is a corporation that funds these long-term care insurances. Okay, so what? Well, what happened is Penn Treaty American Corporation just went bust. Out of business, done, they're done. So what happens is they're out of business. What do I care? Well, there is a stipulation in the government agreements with how these insurance companies are structured, and that is we're all in this together. Penn Treaty American Corporation, if you go bust, all the other insurers have to chime in and help out to fund the policies that are out there. So the big insurers are all now in the hole for millions of dollars. I believe the numbers are, and don't quote me, but I know it's really close. Anthem, which is the parent company of Blue Cross, is in for, I believe, 253 million. Aetna, I believe, is 231 million. Both of them are definitely over 200 million. I might have just switched the numbers. Either way, that's a lot of money. Where are they getting that money from? You guessed it, they're getting it from you. They're getting it from their premium paying members. So, as the news said, expect premiums for many of the large insurers to go up. They're going to go up. We know they're going up, but this is another justification why they'll explain that they need to raise their premiums in order to cover that huge debt that they're now in. So that's what's going on in Pennsylvania. Another thing that you may have not heard of, and another person you may have not heard of, is Mr. Patrick Conway. So Pat was previously, on his resume, he previously worked at CMS. At CMS, he was the Chief Marketing Officer. Just kidding, I made a mistake. It was with an M, but he was the Chief Medical Officer. Chief Medical Officer at CMS, and now he just jumped over to the private sector. He will be the Director of Blue Cross Blue Shield in North Carolina. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to a provider? What that means is that we're going to see a big step on the gas and a big movement in regards to value-based reimbursement. Mr. Patrick Conway, one of his big jobs at CMS was making sure that value-based insurance is the direction that the government is urging the industry to take. So now by him moving over to Blue Cross Blue Shield in North Carolina, that is exactly why they hired him, exactly the direction that he is going to take that insurance. So first of all, you North Carolina providers, watch out, because this is going to be the change in the way your contracts are structured, the way the reimbursement is going to work, and probably the way the other insurers in the area are going to evolve to as well. But it's not just North Carolina. This is Blue Cross, and this is a huge insurer across the country. They are going to take this direction and spread it across the rest of their market. And eventually, as you know from hearing so much about it, value-based is the way that the reimbursement is going to move. And this is something that is a telltale sign that this is the direction we're going. I found that interesting. I think that talking about Blue Cross and talking about the parent company, Anthem had previously been part of the Affordable Care Act in California on a very major scale. And they just announced that they are pulling out of 10 of the 19 regions in California that they used to participate and offer plans in those regions. They are pulling out. Why? This is what they said. The reason why we're pulling out is because, and I quote, the unpredictability or unpredictability of President Trump in regards to his healthcare policy. They're so worried that we have no idea if President Trump is going to help us get funded in order that we could offer these plans, that we're just getting out of here. We don't want to take a chance. And whether you like the president, you don't like the president, one thing we all agree on is that the guy is unpredictable. So that is where Anthem is standing, and that's where most of us stand, but they pulled out, and you're not going to see that many Anthem Affordable Care Act plans in California. Talking about our president, another thing that he brought up last week is something that affects many skilled nursing facilities, and that is their admission agreement. Admission agreement is that big pile of paper that the family members get hit with when they're admitting their mom or dad to a facility. They got to sign away everything, a million papers, and they got to just agree to a lot of things that they probably didn't read everything about, and they got to commit to it in order that their family member and loved one can go to a facility. Now, the previous administration put an idea out there that they were trying to enforce, and that is many agreements, many contracts always have language in there that talks about what happens when things go south, when we don't see eye to eye, when things don't work out. What do we do? So same is for an admission agreement. What do we do in a case of a dispute? We don't agree. So the Obama administration wanted to push the idea that you cannot urge family members or residents to commit to arbitration. Arbitration is, instead of going to court where you're going through the legal system, instead you're sitting down at the table with a mediator, you work things out, sometimes you'll compromise, sometimes you'll discuss things and hear out the other side, and then you come out with a solution and you walk away. So Obama administration said, hey, we don't think that's fair that you can urge family members to commit to that, and therefore they were trying to take that away. Comes along the Trump administration and said, actually, we want that in there. We want that to be the direction that admission agreements will have in there in regards to how to solve a dispute. Now, I could hear it really either way, because on the one side, you kind of gotta feel bad for the family members because it seems like the provider is kind of taking advantage of the situation. They're all, pressure. They got their family member that just has to leave their home now, can't take care of themselves. We have other family dynamics going on we're rushed. Very often they're coming from the hospital. There's so much going on. I got to sign so many papers. I'm not really reading it. And, the family might not even realize that they're committing to arbitration. And, a lot of times if they went through the legal system, maybe they'll get better exposure, maybe they'll get more money, they'll win more, and the facility will be in more trouble, whatever it is. On one side, I do hear where arbitration is maybe something we don't want to push family members into or residents into. But on the other hand, as the Trump administration said, this is really actually a very decent solution because it gets the issue solved much quicker, it's more efficient, it saves money on both ends, and it moves things quicker. So I can see why it makes sense, I can see why it doesn't make sense, but one thing I think is important to be considered is that on the provider end, it's really unfair. Because providers, if you ever look through any of their managed care contracts, almost every single managed care contract that the provider has between them and the insurance company is including a clause about arbitration. So now they got to commit that they're going to go in case of a dispute. And by the way, the disputes between the provider and the insurer are usually about a lot more money than something that the resident and the facility will be arguing about. Not always, but usually. So if the provider has to commit to arbitration in regards to their relationship with the insurer, it's only fair that they can then go ahead and kind of do the same thing for the people that they're involved with. Maybe it's not fair, but then it's not fair for them as well, and they should take away the arbitration clause between them and the insurers. That's just how I feel, but we'll see as this becomes more public and as they actually try to implement things of how things will go. Last thing just caught my eye in Crane, Chicago. It's not really major news, but I think the headline really stood out to me, and I think we're going to see a lot more of this in the news. Northwestern Medicine is a big healthcare provider in Illinois, and they're shutting the doors on one of their skilled nursing facilities, and they're moving into home health. They're taking that money and they're putting it invested into home health. And the headline read as follows: out with nursing homes, in with home health. And I think that concept rang very true when I saw it in the news, because you hear it so much, and you hear so much about the ideas of looking at other different forms of healthcare and trying to push home care and trying to get people out of skilled nursing, out of hospitals, in order that they could look at other avenues for healthcare that are cheaper, are better, are more helpful, and so on. So this headline, out with nursing homes, in with home health, I think is something that rings very true, especially now when we're hearing large corporations such as Kindred getting out of the skilled nursing facility business. It's interesting to see that now that this is coming into the news and it's coming into the mainstream media, I would love to see how this plays out, because as you know, it is something that is being pushed, and home health and other forms of care are things that are being incentivized very, very strongly. It's interesting to see how it goes. To wrap this up, just want to mention, we started off with LTSS Pennsylvania. If any of you will be at the fall conference for Leading Age Pennsylvania, I believe it's November 14th or 15th, I will be there, as well as some others that will be talking about managed care, talking about Pennsylvania MLTSS. We'll have a panel there. We'll be able to answer any of your questions. It should be very, very informative, very exciting. There's a lot going on, and I would love to see you there. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. If you have any comments about what you'd like to hear about or things that you didn't like, let me know so we can make this better for you. Thanks so much.